Welcome back, puppies, to Barking Dogs Miniature Painting Video. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook, and you can support us on Patreon.
Before painting up his Bonesword, I'm going to be using Hammerfall Khaki, Menoth White base, and Menoth White highlight. So I want to put a very thin coat on here. I might come back in and paint the handle because there's a little bit of a handle there, but right now I'm just trying to get this paint on there and put a thin coat. So I'll take some of that extra paint that I get on the brush, because usually when I stick it in the pot there, it's a little more paint than I want or need, so I'll just wipe the excess off on my wet palette. And that lets me thin it out. And I'm going to come in with this. And the same thing, I'm just going to dab some excess to get it there on the wet palette, and then I'm going to use the wet palette. And really all I'm doing is I'm just taking the brush. Once I put the glob on there, I'm just doing this. Kind of knock off the excess, or come back and pick a little bit more up if I need it. And with this layer, I'm really just kind of trying to highlight right along there. I might come in and pick a little bit of this up. A little bit of that hole up right there. Alright, I want it to be a little lighter than that, so I'm going to come back and give it another second coat. Real thin, and that ought to bring it back up just a little bit. This time I think I am only going to do it kind of right in these areas. Might get this right here a little bit. Basically what I'm doing is I'm getting the top part. I'm going to let that set up for a moment. Oh, some of that might have been off camera. Sorry if it was. I'm going to let that set up for a moment. And then I'll probably dry brush it with the highlight. For this highlight, I am letting it gradually kind of brush over the rest of the blade, but I'm really concentrating on getting the edges to pick it up there. To try to give it a little bit more dimension. We're going to do that with a wash, but instead of the Agrax Earthshade, because washes do behave differently. And one of the things I like about the Citadel, I've been actually pleased with the Agrax and the Nuln washes is they don't stain as bad as like some of these inks. Like for a long time, this sepia game ink was kind of a favorite of mine. It stains a little worse. One of the ways around that was I would actually dilute it with water. In fact, I did that probably 9 times out of 10 when I was using this stuff. I diluted it with equal parts water, 1-to-1 ink to water ratio. But for the wash on this Bonesword, I think I'm going to be reaching for one of the Army Painters. It's dark tone. I don't know if we don't want dark tone. They've got light tone and strong tone. Here we go. Here's a strong tone. There's military shader. There's red tone. Mid brown. Okay. Here's my light tone. I'm trying to decide on one of these. This is going to be a little more brown. This is going to be more of a real dark brown. And then there's actually even a mid brown wash that's a little more red than the light tone. Is really the main difference between the mid brown and the light tone. I think I'm going to start out with the light tone, because then if I'm not happy with it, we can always go a little bit darker. And what I plan on doing after this wash sets up is probably coming back and hitting it again, but this time instead of highlighting with a dry brush of white, I'm probably going to be using an ivory. So let's go ahead and get this wash on here. So it's going to take it down quite a bit. It's actually allowing those highlighted areas to pop a little bit more, but I still plan on coming in with a wash later. While I'm at it, I'm just going to wash this wristband. Alright, and that hole that goes through there, it's got a little bit built up in it. Because I don't want it to dry that way, I'm just going to blow it out like that. Well, alright, we're going to let that set up. And then, I don't know, the more I look at this, I'm not sure whether I want to dry brush it or if I just want to come in and use some edge highlights. See if that'll come into focus for you there. We'll see. We're going to let that dry right now, and I'll try to make up my mind. We'll come back to it. I think I'm just going to edge highlight with a little bit of ivory. For that, I'm going to go with this model color ivory. It's actually one of my favorite whites of all the white paints that I have. Just giving it a good shake here. Barely getting some on there. I'm just going to come in, I'm going to edge highlight. For this, I'm actually using the side of the brush. Sorry for not rambling on there. This is really me concentrating. Apparently, I have these moments where chewing bubblegum and walking aren't my thing. Sometimes I can nail it, sometimes I can't. This being a commission piece, I'm really trying to be particular about getting that edge highlighting just right. So when the guy opens it up and gets this out, I want him to be like, wow. So I'm on camera here with that. Now, interesting thing about doing these kind of sawtooth, let's got this little point at the end, like some little tooth or something on it there. I think we just about got it where we want it. Make sure I'm still on camera here. Trying to get this. Maybe get the brush just a tad bit wetter. Get my point back on the brush there. Oh crap, I just kind of overpainted that, but that's alright, I can make it work. Because we can kind of blend it. Once that dries, I'll come back in and just touch up the ivory right here. It's gotten a little stain from the wash. And then I think that Bonesword will be ready to go. Add just a little bit more shade on that side. And I really like the way that's turning out. So that means I probably need to stop. And it'll be okay if I come back in and touch that up with the ivory, but sometimes you get to a point where you're just like, I really need to stop here. And just to show you this guy, all he really lacks is me putting the black on here, and then I might add some flock to the base. There we go. Alright. We will see you in the next video. Bonesword, I ended up redoing it and doing another dry brush because the longer I looked at it, the more I just didn't like it, and it really started to look like wood more than bone. So I think I ended up just putting too much wash on it. I probably should have stopped well before I did, and so I ended up kind of just redoing it a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. I kind of like the way it's turned out, where you got this older kind of stained bone look underneath here, and then you've got the higher areas where it's a little more bleached, like maybe it's been rubbing on stuff and just kept clean longer, I guess, kept from aging as much. So we're going to go ahead and
Like
stop
what
there.
you saw in this video and some of the images you're seeing now, I'm available for commissions. You can reach me through messaging me at Facebook, www.facebook.com/BarkingDogStudio. Patreon supporters get discounts on commissions as well as credit at the end of the video. Special thanks to the Clarks for their continued support. Bark on, puppies.